From the capital city of Charleston, West Virginia, this is Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis. Inside West Virginia Politics is brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State.
Well, happy weekend, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. I'm your host, Mark Curtis. We're going to wrap up the 2021 legislative session. Joining us right now, the Republican Speaker of the House from Clay County, the Honorable Roger Hanshaw. Good to have you on the show, Speaker.
Hi, Mark. Good morning.
What are the highlights? What do you think that you guys accomplished that's good for the state this session?
I mean, there's lots of things, Mark. Let's start by saying that we got the budget out in 60 days again, as we've done the last 3 years, at no extra expense to the taxpayer. We're happy about that. We were able to do that and control the budget, so we actually had a net decrease in the overall operating budget for the state of West Virginia this year. No increased spending to the taxpayer at all. And we were able to get a box check that we've been working on for a number of years. We passed Senate Bill 275, and now West Virginia's joined the majority of states and has an intermediate court of appeals here in our state. And I like to talk about that bill a lot. Sure. Because it does more than what people think. It's not just creating a new court here in West Virginia. The structure of that bill actually provides a mechanism now to free up our trial courts to get some of the cases that are most important to West Virginia citizens decided more quickly. So think about family court matters, for example, things that are really important to the daily lives of West Virginians. Those cases will no longer have to sit at the back of the docket of the circuit court now in our 55 counties. Those now will go to an intermediate body and get decided faster.
Let's talk about maybe the most stunning moment of the session, and that was the vote last week, 0 to 100 to reject the governor's tax plan, his personal income tax reduction plan in the House. It was, in a word, breathtaking to see that board lit up completely red. Why did you guys take that vote, and what's the significance of it?
Well, as recently as 24 hours before that vote, Mark, we in the House were continuing to talk to representatives of the Senate, representatives of the governor's office, the administration, about how we would continue the dialogue going forward over the spring and summer about the shared goal of reducing or eventually eliminating personal income tax in West Virginia. We all like that objective. That's a laudable goal that we all think is important. But earlier in the day, the governor decided to take to the media and essentially call out the House for our unwillingness to vote. He even went so far as to suggest that maybe we lacked the courage to take a vote, and as we demonstrated, that was not the case.
And you were really, in that case, not necessarily voting down the tax bill, you were voting to defend the honor of the institution of the House of Delegates, because I think he was challenging your integrity. Is that fair to say?
He did, and I would say this directly to him. That's inappropriate behavior from our state's chief executive, and we're not going to have that. We have an obligation to defend the institution that is the House and the legislature, and we did that.
Yeah. Did we make improvements? I know we going into the session, a lot of bipartisan support for improving broadband, expanding telehealth. Tell us where we got on those issues.
We did. We were able to codify the governor's existing executive order on telehealth services during this pandemic. A number of West Virginians, more than ever before, have been accessing health care services remotely through video conference with their physician and their health care provider. We made that permanent, so the barriers that the governor let down to telehealth care services through executive order during the pandemic are now law. They're now codified into statute, so those changes will not be undone when the executive orders go away. West Virginians will still be able to access telehealth care services as widely and as broadly as they are now. We did pass House Bill 2002. That was our broadband expansion bill for this year. It addresses things like rights of way on state property for deployment of fiber and deployment of conduit and cable. There's still so much more work that needs to be done to get our state where it needs to be in terms of connectivity, and I always like to talk about that issue, Mark, in forums like this, and say that we need listeners, we need viewers to actually reach out to our congressional delegation on that issue, because so much of that is preempted by federal law.
We're down to about a minute, and I want to get your reaction. I'm going to ask Delegate Scaff coming up the same thing. This program the governor unveiled this week with Brad Smith from Intuit and Gordon Gee, the president of West Virginia University, to attract remote workers and incentivize it to give them money to actually move to West Virginia. Yes. Lower cost of living. Do you think this is viable, and you think this is the right path?
Well, we know it's viable. We know it's the right path because it's been done elsewhere and it's been successful. So one need look no further than Tulsa, Oklahoma for a clear example of how successful this program can be. Mark, I've been to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and if we can entice people to move to Tulsa to perform remote work, we can certainly entice them to move to West Virginia. And importantly, this is all private dollars. These are not tax dollars. This is not the state of West Virginia using tax money. These are private dollars.
Yeah. Well, I've been to Tulsa, Oklahoma, too. I'm not dissing Oklahoma.
No.
West Virginia is a whole lot more beautiful than Oklahoma.
We think so.
Yeah, we like mountains rather than flat land. Anyway, we want to thank House Speaker Roger Hanshaw for joining us. We'll have you back later in the year on the program because I expect we're going to maybe see a special session and more of these issues are going to develop. It's not over yet.
My pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
We'll have more of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break. Stay with us.